Can you hear it? They're coming. 5 great books from Blue Banyan Books and Blouse and Skirt Books. Feel the Caribbean, read the Caribbean. Coming soon to your favorite source for audiobooks. Can you hear it? They're coming. 5 great books from Blue Banyan Books and Blouse and Skirt Books. Feel the Caribbean, read the Caribbean. Coming soon to your favorite source for audiobooks.
Ladies, gentlemen, friends, family, good people all. Good evening. My name is Tanya Batson Savage, and I am the head cook and most often bottle washer of Blue Banyan Books and Blouse and Skirt Books. Let me breathe, because it is absolutely great to be here with you this evening, even though it's virtual. And I have to say that it is probably for the best that it is virtual, because maybe if it were in person and then I can't get to hug anybody still, I would just, bring down shame on myself and bust out a ball. So it is good to be here in this virtual space. And so let me just start by saying thank you, all of you who are here with us. Thank you very much. As Miss Lou would clap on herself. I don't know if virtual space, but clap on herself anyway. So I also want to make sure that the next set of people that I thank, even though we're not yet at the thanks, are the people who made this possible, which is a massive big up to the Caribbean Development Bank, Caribbean Export, and the European Union. And I will say a little more about that when we properly get to the thanks, but I just want to make sure that I thank them at the top of this. So this evening, we are here to do a thing. And to do it, I am joined by A-dZiko Simba Gegele, Janet Morrison, Owen Blacker Ellis, Paula Ann Porter Jones, Yashika Graham, Desmond Dennis, and series director and producer Nadine Rollins. If I do say so myself, an amazing bunch of people. So what we're going to do is a simple thing. But for us, it is a thing that is an important thing. And for some of us, and yes, I am virtually looking at you, A-dZiko and Blacker, is a thing we wanted to do from a long time. We are here to tell you about our audiobooks, or gathering under the virtual street lamp to share our stories in, I guess, a new format, which really is just a new way to do that thing that people have been doing from time immemorial, which is sharing stories orally. And it's particularly important to me to be able to share what is, in many ways, a continuation of the oral tradition in the digital space. Because although my mother gets a lot of credit for buying me books when I was little, my grandmother has to be credited for being a great storyteller. And these readers you're going to hear this evening, you're going to know that clearly they are all great storytellers. They have that vibe. So what we're going to do this evening is share with you a little taste of what you will get to feast on in our upcoming audiobooks. And so before anybody try to kill me off, please note I said upcoming audiobooks. They're not live yet, but they soon will be. So if this were music, this is what we would call a listening party, but we're calling it an audiobook jam. This is a jam session, a precursor, a teaser to our offerings in the short story collection, which features a novel, 2 collections of poetry, and a collection of short stories. And this will be works that comes from our children, teen, and adult catalogs. And so over the next few months, starting on Friday, July 8th, and the intention is you will be able to get these wherever audiobooks are sold. We will be releasing our first title in the series, which is All Over Again. And then by the end of the summer, we will culminate with Some of Us Can Go Back Home. You want to know where you get the details, right? Okay. So for the details, a good option is, let me do the thing that all the YouTubers do. I'm new to this. Subscribe here to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to click the bell. I feel absolutely ridiculous for saying that. You can also follow us at Blue Banyan Books on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. And if you're here, you probably already do. If you don't, remedy that situation. Okay. And so I'm not here for the long talking. And so I want to get into the meat of the matter. And yes, although this is virtual and audiobooks are digital, I am old school. And so basically you can keep your NFTs. I'm into RFTs, real freaking things. So instead of just giving you an audio clip, we are giving you our authors and narrators in live and virtually living color. And if nothing else, our panel highlights that audiobooks land us in the convergence territory of the creative sector. Our authors, narrators, and our director-producer are all very well hyphenated. And when I get into introducing them, you will hear some are a poet and a comedian, a novelist and a storyteller, actor, director, producer, comma, dash, dash. You know the rest. You will get to know them as we go along. And so without any further ado, I'm ready to kick off the readings. And first up, we have Janet Morrison. Janet Morrison came to writing with a composition on being Lizzie the Lizard. Since then, she has had a diverse and sterling career as a radio and TV producer, a film production manager, so many other things, a social and behavior change communication specialist. She won the BBC radio playwriting competition with The Fisherman, and her collection of stories from which she's reading today, A Different Me, A Better You, won the inaugural Jean DaCosta Prize and was shortlisted for the Bocas Children's Literature Prize. Janet, please take it away.
Hi, and welcome to everybody who has joined us this evening. It's a first for many of us, and we're really happy to be here, thanks to Blue Banyan. I just wanted to dedicate this reading to, I have to go off script, to the women and girls who are under threat, and to the boys and men who are under stress. And I hope that this evening will take us out of that space for a little, but I want you to still, keep them in mind. So I dedicate this reading to them. So I Am Inside is one out of the collection of the 5 stories. All the heroes in my book are children with disabilities. And this story is called I Am Inside. And I'm just going to be reading an extract. Hopefully I will stick to my time slot. Like everyone else in the schoolyard, Michaela stands still as the big shiny red van rolls up in front of the small assembly hall. Its color wasn't really red, as Michaela found out later. Just like how the assembly hall wasn't really a hall, but consisted of a roof held up by some heavy metal poles and a concrete platform for rows of chairs. Heads turn, eyes open wide, as the van comes to a stop, the tires skidding on the gravel, but no one came out. It reminded Michaela of a cartoon she had seen, with aliens landing on Earth while the humans waited scared. But nobody here was scared. Michaela's mother would probably say, they just love to be up in people's business. Money people this, says Jomi, standing beside her. The van makes a soft humming sound as the doors at the back slowly open. Then another sound as a small ramp seems to grow from beneath the van to the ground. Only then does the front door of the van open and a pretty lady with a kind smile hops out from the driver's seat. At the same time, a wheelchair making a beeping sound like a robot rolls down the ramp and stops. At first, Michaela doesn't see the person in the chair, but Jomi does. Whoa, that you a little bitty man? He exclaims. Okay, stop. You know we're not supposed to say anything unkind about special children. I never said anything bad. I said he's tiny, Jomi replies. It never sounds right, says Michaela, trying to see just how tiny the new student is. By now, the new boy's mother is being greeted by the principal, Mrs. Lewis. His head was larger than his body and bubbled a bit against the headrest of his automatic wheelchair as he tried to position the chair beside the two women. It looks to Michaela as if he was having difficulty controlling his head. Maybe he's going to be in the special unit for children with learning disabilities, she thought. You're right, him little bit, says Michaela, breaking her own rule. As she said the words, the boy caught her looking at him. He doesn't smile. He just looks at her, looking at him. Michaela is the first to lower her eyes. Jomi, come, says Michaela, embarrassed. She tugs on her friend's hand and pulls him away quickly from the scene. What's wrong with you, man? Says Jomi, angry. We're going to miss all the excitement. He saw me looking at him. So, everybody looking at him. It's the Garvey Primary welcome, remember? Mrs. Smith says that all new students that come after the first day of term get special treatment so they can feel comfortable. Jomi stops talking. The two look at each other and burst out laughing as they realize that the poor new student was probably not feeling it. Okay, maybe they don't feel comfortable with 10 million people staring at them, but they feel special, right? Says Jomi. Michaela rolls her eyes and keeps walking. Later that morning, as Michaela's class settles in for their science lesson, the new boy enters the classroom. With him is one of the assistants for the special unit. Michaela slides down into her chair, hoping that he doesn't see her. The science teacher, Miss Granum, claps her hand to get everyone's attention. Michaela tries not to breathe. She can't believe that he's really going to be in her class. Jomi, seated next to her, is trying to get her attention by waving his ruler around and poking her. She pretends not to see him. Children, says Miss Granum, I want to introduce you to Kyle Carter and his shadow teacher, Miss Grant. The children recite the required greeting. Good morning, Kyle. Welcome to Garvey Primary. Good morning, Miss Grant. Kyle gives a small lopsided smile, and his teacher points him to a position not far from Michaela, who is still trying to be invisible. Meanwhile, Jomi is trying not to giggle too loudly at Michaela and her antics. He ends up sounding like he's gargling. At recess, Jomi deliberately goes over to Kyle and introduces himself. What's up? I'm Jomi, and over there is Michaela, trying to hide from you. Yo, Michaela, come here, man. Michaela has no escape, so she kind of slides over to Kyle. He smiles, showing a chipped tooth. She relaxes and introduces herself. She likes his voice. It's a small voice, and he breathes funny, but it sounds like music, kind of sing-song, she thinks. So let's go, says Jomi, who has obviously decided that they are now a friend group of 3, and leads the way out the door with Michaela helping to steer Kyle's wheelchair. Thanks, says Kyle. Even though it's automatic, sometimes I have to put it on manual or it will bump into stuff. That's the only time I really need help steering. That's okay, I don't mind, says Michaela. As the three sit under a tree on the playground, Michaela and Jomi get to know their new friend. What's wrong with you? Asked Jomi, who always gets straight to the point. Nothing, said Kyle. I have muscular dystrophy, though. Let me say that again. I have muscular dystrophy, though. I never hear about that one, says Michaela. It basically means my muscles are wasting away. My you, that sounds terrible, said Jomi. He grins. What that mean? Kyle gives a small smile at Jomi's nonsense and looks at him directly. So, your muscles are growing, right? Getting bigger? Ha! Him wish, laughs Michaela. Well, my own doing the opposite. That's why I can't walk. I also have heart problems and breathing problems because all the muscles in my entire body are affected. So, brethren, Jomi's face is sad. How come you said nothing wrong with you when I ask you? Kyle is silent for a little. Then he speaks, looking off at the other children playing. I don't see it as being something wrong with me. I just have parts that don't work. Yeah, Jomi, like how your brain don't work most of the time, said Michaela. Jomi decides not to take on Michaela. So you don't get tired of people staring at you all the time? I know I would. Yeah, sometimes, but Kyle pauses. What really gets to me is when they don't even really see me. Really, you know that small, Jomi jokes. Michaela rolls her eyes. I don't think that's what he means, she says quietly. They see this. Kyle touches his small, useless legs. They don't see Kyle. I'm right here on the inside, but they don't see me. I kind of feel that some of it is your fault. Michaela tries to stop Jomi from saying anything else. Jomi really, but Jomi is not stopping. Brethren, from this morning to now, I don't see you smile once. People afraid of screw face, you know. Kyle is quiet for a moment. And then he smiles. I suppose you're right, he agrees. But just as Michaela breathes a sigh of relief, Jomi starts up again. I guess your parents rich, right? Says Jomi. Michaela jabs him in the back for his bad manners. They have enough to buy me this wheelchair, Kyle says. And the crisp red van, says Jomi. It's not red, it's maroon, says Kyle, disgusted that Jomi doesn't know the difference between the two colors. Michaela grins. She's glad that it was Jomi and not her that got the clap back. Most children like me don't have this kind of wheelchair. Some don't even have a wheelchair. That's what I'm going to do after school. Give away wheelchairs, says Jomi, impressed. No, youth. If I make it past university, I'm going to manufacture low-cost wheelchairs for children who can't afford it. What do you mean if you make it? Said Michaela, her heart suddenly racing. We don't usually make it past 20 children with my condition. Kyle shrugs his small shoulders. But we'll see, right? Michaela nods and finds that she can't stop nodding. Jomi is speechless. The bell rings for the end of recess. The three friends become inseparable. But in the classroom, things don't go as smoothly. The children are all divided into groups for certain activities, such as tidying up the classroom after school. Kyle's group has boys in it who are always causing trouble. One afternoon, they turn their attention to Kyle. Yo, bobblehead, shouts AJ, a big youth who looks like he belongs in 8th grade. Kyle pretends not to hear. Are they crazy? He thinks. I'm not answering to that. AJ approaches Kyle and rudely drops a stack of books in his lap. They hurt, but Kyle doesn't move an inch. Cool, says AJ. A human trolley. Now we don't have to carry nothing. Kyle can't move the heavy books with his weak hands and can only watch as AJ piles more things in his wheelchair. Kyle looks AJ in the eye, deliberately holding his gaze. You finish? He says. Yeah, says AJ, daring Kyle to complain about it. But Kyle isn't about to make AJ bait him up. He rolls over to the cupboards where the books are to be packed at the back of the classroom, and AJ and his cronies follow with big grins. Their lives just got a lot easier. And I leave you there.
All right. Thank you so much, Janet. We will talk to you some more about this when we get to the Q&A section. But boy, I got to tell you that collection, it have all the feels. All right. So without slowing the progress, I am going to introduce you to Desmond Dennis. He is an award-winning actor and lends his voice to Billy Elm's adventure novel for young readers, Lost in the Cockpit Country. Desmond, and when you see him, if you don't know him look young, but clearly he's been going on with things for a minute, right? So Desmond has been garnering years of experience, having accrued cred on the stage, including in Maya Wilkinson's Heist, which earned them the Actor Boy Award for Best Lead Actor, as well as on the screen, including in, I guess, what used to be Netflix's, but is now Disney's, Luke Cage. Whoever owns it, he is still in Luke Cage. And Desmond is also a playwright and a director. Desmond, take it away.
Thank you so much for that. Good evening, everybody. I'll be reading an excerpt from chapter 10, titled Conquering Doubt. And of course, as Tanya said, it's from Lost in a Cockpit Country by Billy Elm. Progress was slow, over rocky ground, first uphill, then downhill. Along the way, he counted his steps. He scored trees and made jottings in his notebook. One of the trees had a low-hanging branch which had been tied into a knot some time ago by the looks of it. It jolted his memory. His history teacher had told them the Maroons used that sign to find their way through the forest. If Maroons hadn't made that knot, Lukey must have. As Kemar went along, he saw more knots and made some of his own. "Hurry up, boy! What you waiting on?" shouted Lukey, who had gone so far ahead that he was almost out of sight. "I have to go slow. I don't want to hurt up my foot." "Don't want me to carry you again," Lukey laughed. He forged on until they came to a narrow track carved in the hillside. A prickle aloe tree, its trunk covered with tough thorns, stood there. Kemar slashed it with his knife, taking care not to let the thorns pierce his skin. Lukey had turned left onto the track where the going was easier. They came to a place where trees had been cut down. For miles around, they could see green round-top mountains. They were still deep in the cockpit country. The sun was almost overhead. Kemar reckoned it had taken them about 2 hours to reach that point. If police had come with Rocco to look for Lukey, they would have reached the old cave already, based on the time he'd come the day before. They would soon leave if they hadn't already left. If Rocco had come with some thugs to snatch Kemar away from Lukey, he might be inclined to hang around in the old cave until Lukey came to collect water. Kemar shuddered. "You hear that humming?" asked Lukey, tipping his chin towards a bullet tree. Bees were collecting nectar from sprays of small yellow flowers hanging from the ends of its branches. Near the top of the tree was their nest. "We could well do with some of that honey. Tomorrow we'll come for it." Lukey started walking again, following the track in a southerly direction. If they turned left off the track and walked due east, Kemar reasoned, they would be back at Lukey's old cave. But in that direction was a sheer wall of rock, like the one on the other path. Far above the rock wall, would be the top of another hill, and Lukey's cave would be on the other side. About 100 yards farther on, Lukey stopped. "This is it," he said. "Lend me a flashlight. We will show you the way." Kemar could see by natural light coming into the cave for a few yards. Beyond that, he hesitated. Lukey waved the flashlight around, making him feel queasy. Stalagmites and stalactites, so old they were joined together, making columns, cast eerie shadows on the walls of the cave. Bats nestled in dark bunches in crevices in the roof. Lukey, it's scary in here. May we wait on you outside? No, wait right here, said Lukey. You think me don't know you want to run away? Big mistake. You go and walk round and round in circles until you die of thirst. Me soon come. Kemar watched as the flickering light disappeared into the darkness. Now was his chance. Even if Lukey came out in 5 minutes, he had the head start he needed. Retracing his steps along the path, he looked back every few minutes to see if Lukey was following him. And a bang sounded in the distance. If those maroons were looking for him, they should have found him by now. They must be sounding their bang for some other reason. He soon passed the place where they'd seen the bee's nest. He walked at a quick pace, resisting the temptation to run. He could trip and fall. Not seeing the prickle ala tree, he wondered if he'd gone too far. Then he spotted it. He saw the cut he had made on it, checked his compass, and plunged into the undergrowth. If by chance Lukey was close on his heels, it would be hard for him to see him in the shade of the forest. Kemar started to climb uphill over sharp rocks. He was soon out of breath. Feeling thirsty and weak from hunger, he rested for a few minutes and finished his water. He passed several knotted tree branches, some old ones and others he had made earlier. He checked his notebook and compass. A cedar tree was straight ahead of him. On its trunk was the cut he had made. He could stop worrying. His system was working. He had only a big birch tree and the trumpet tree to find before he was back on a familiar path. Walking due east, scrambling over rocks and brushing aside vines, he counted 500 steps. No birch tree was in sight. He might have miscounted. Not only that, his paces were all different lengths. He checked his compass again. His hands shook. Perhaps he had veered a bit off course. If O'Shane was with him, he would know what to do. O'Shane had a knack of finding a way out of awkward situations and was never afraid. If O'Shane had been with him, they would have found their way home on Saturday or even Friday. If O'Shane had been with him, they'd never have gone with Lukey in the first place. It wouldn't surprise him if O'Shane was looking for him at that moment.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you very much, Desmond. That had me going there for a minute, as I really kind of wanted to get a little deeper into that story, even though I very well know what happens in that story. But yes, really great reading. Thank you so much. We will get to talk to you a little bit more. So moving right along, now we have a bit of a tag team, if you will, because we're going to be having the reading from Owen Blacker Ellis's Rhythm and Riddles, which is coming to the world of audio with 3 narrators, because apparently is so black enough. All right, so along with Blacker this evening, we will be having the inimitable Paula Ann Porter Jones, who will be reading along with him. So Owen is a lecturer, playwright, actor, comedian, and Paula, you will know her, of course, from radio. She is also a children's book writer. We're happy to say, if you have not yet got your hands on Sandy Tosh and the Muko, please to remedy the situation. And she is also a chaser of waterfalls. If you follow her on Instagram, you will see I am very bad mind, Paula, very bad mind. And the third voice on that collection will be Joanne Williams. So this evening, let me hand it over to Blacker and Paula. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanya. So my poems, like me, tend to be short, not short or nothing. So Paula and I will read 3 poems each alternately, starting with Pun and Joke Aside and ending with Evening Song. Here goes. Pun and Joke Aside. Take the comic cracks with a pinch of salt. Taste the burnt short scrapings of each story. For when this tired, tried and tested vessel of my soul makes final service, whether gently grounded, boldly broken, or crashing spectacle, you'll find no hidden ingredient, no verse to salvage, no crumbs among the wreckage. All my verbs would have been long consumed, plate cleaned, cup rinsed, hands washed. And every wretched, weary, wonderful, sad, and savory morsel in my slow cooked, unquenched quest for meaning would have been scooped up, devoured, digested. Paula, on your time.
Break for breath. The rock rises to her fullness, brushes her locks with clouds, then ties the monument to her head, ties the moment to her head with bright blue bandana. Never mind now her harbored feet washed with grime. Forget for a while her gashed belly, garrisoned waist, and the boils round her bosom. The epiphany of air is vital. In memory of cells left living, she keeps this minute's silence, breathing in, breathing it in, like long note over light drums and smoky horns. Taking it in slowly, she holds it in her throat like a cough that tickles, threatens, yet never happens, except transposed to tune of laughter. Then she exhales.
After Marley's tire. Light me, she whispered, fire free and sweet. Water rages, rains outside. Taste me, she tempted. Blended beat, itching for heat, wrapped and rolled and ready for a ride. Check me, she urged. Flip the cover, pluck, probe, pick your stick, find the edge, slide the red bulbous head on velvet sulfur, singe air, pink smoke, tape clouds. Blue-gray follows flaming head, shifting, swirling like a trance. After rhythm hisses implosion in the belly of our dance, and the spent stick crumbles too soon. But rest, breathe, and here I come again.
Recess. Yes, on a run. We stuck. You freeze, me pull. Boy, stuck in the mud. Plain field feel full. Girls over here, so boys over there, so she catch her him fling. Find my line to go in. Today the day, me know me, I go win. Ray, dodge, ray, duck, yeah. Why, Andy Shandy could have gone all day, but change. Coconut bowl bat, rubber band ball ready. Bat by terms, our ball catchy should be. Bat get batter, ball get beat, lick six, ball loss. But the game still sweet. All who feel and not get no bat, don't hide themselves in a peanut trash and change. Me first, you second. Clear out the spot. Wanna take the rope, don't spin it too hot. 1, 2, 3, Auntie Lulu. 4, 5, 6, Auntie Lulu. 7, 8, 9, Auntie Lulu. 10, Auntie Lulu. 10, Auntie Lulu. Ready to go. Quicker. Salt, mustard. Vinegar. Pepper. Okay. Easy, grab the rope. Yeah, mash up. Him run. Catch him. Grab him. That son of a gun. We wet with sweat and giddy with fun till bell ring. Cry cree. Oh, recess done.
Come eat. I crave a chance to feed you. Slow moments to wake your watering. Feel for fingers stroking moisture from freshly cleaned pink snapper ready for the heat. Stream my fingers, rubbing butter and seasoning into warm, wet openings, filling each space with spice, longing to place this platter, my pride, in your hands, savoring smells, sighs, steamed fish and friendship on a firm bed of white rice.
Evening song. Loving this blue-gray time of day when breeze belatedly sings and sweetly swings her presence. When colors clamor for last dance, leaves rush round in playful circles, giggling, ground-bound sometimes, snickering back upwards to her teasing tickles. Loving this calm before sunlight's curtain call, when dusk glides across the face of evening, feeling this sundown quiet, daylight's parting smile. Soon she'll snuggle, sigh, drift, descend, relax, and fade to black.
And I can't help but feel, although I can't sing, say, this is the point at which I go, got to have Kaya now. Thank both of you so much. That was a brilliant reading. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, as I say with everybody, more on that when we get to the Q&A, right? We are moving right along. So I am hoping that our next reader, Ms. Yashika Graham, who is the newbie on our list, is ready. Yashika will be reading from Some of Us Can Go Back Home. She is a 2019 recipient of the Mervyn Morris Prize for Poetry from the University of the West Indies, Mona, where she read for a Bachelor's of Arts in Literatures in English. Her poetry, prose, and literary criticism have been published and presented internationally. Some of Us Can Go Back Home is her debut poetry collection. Yashika, over to you.
Hello, good evening. Thank you so much, Tanya. Hi, everyone. Okay, so we begin with how we lived. To buck a bull on your way from spring is to become strategist. It is to approach Lord God me dead, to swing your water jug, to reel, to run. It is to sit on a rock beyond the climb from bamboo root to the flats, my brothers leaning on a guava limb, half laugh, half cry, saying, give thanks, is nothing to survive. This is Yard World. In these hills, we plaited grass, a crisscross of yard strands through young hands, heads bobbing, mouth in a bounce of found gum. We made treeless cities from Uncle's circuit boards, plucked red and blue bulbs from his strings of Christmas lights, made baby bottles. We raved over the armless Megatron mossed into the wall, the ABC playset lost in the pit, and from stores of dirt, recovered doll heads, grandma's gold ring, and a bracelet. Before evening hunt for peony wallies through Banana Walk, we dashed across the yard for cricket, where every board was backed and every doubling of plastic bags a catch. We'd swing from guava to Guinness limb on one sip of goat rope, and before dinner, skid down hillsides on crocus paths, seeking rivers. And we go now to the Obe woman in Bendong Market. Tell the God truth. You believed when she told you the yam would float and the spoon would stick immovable. Is she planted? She knows the coarse renter composed beneath the dirt bar. And you know better what you buy, like she knew you would. Her voice, a trail de la lingua, clasps fortifications about your neck in a bend-down ceremony of how to set the pace for Sunday rising, to soak the gungo for ease of living. She tells you how this will end, that you will cook the yam, drink the soup to barrier a body against hard life, and return again next week. Take a blacky mango for your change. You choose, refusing her eyes, for fear she might pull you, guilted, into other failing fruit. And we go back to the bush, to Berkshire Road, coordinates unknown. Town people don't call the place Puss Hole, but a government name. A through road clogged with shops and gravel passes, leading to zinc roof illusions amid the trees. They do not call it an avenue, not a way, but a gorge in the hill where yards rife with sharp rock hold concrete verandas on board flats with brown tarp hauled over their faces. When Berkshire makes the news, it is set in Bethel town, 9 miles outside of itself, where at once a woman can be 44 and also 48, her name, Grace. The paper said her son was quiet, didn't mention his name, printed a photo of her older child, graduation day. The newsman dodging dogs and tree limbs notes what the welcome sign says and sets the clamoring scene closer to coast. He writes that Grace of the Green Hills lived in a town with sidewalks, maybe a police station, names for its streets. Not up there, Ronso, not here. The crowd converged on the main, wants to know why a son, 13 years in the afterbirth, would summon his mother's blood again, rinse the knife, and in the middle road, blame his hand on the deep night. This is inheritance. They say I get my cheekbones from my father's side of family, my feet from my grandmother, who at 14 started treading Great River Gully. They say she'd heat 5 irons in a fireside one time, then to market, then to river to wash my father's clothes. These are her feet. My father knew well how to dodge me, from I was knee-high till the last time we sat on the concrete. He promised dolls, houses, promised to stay, but like a culvert, he would wash these things away. My father, words sweet like soft drinks, willed me to rescue his hat from the fire. Calling my mother a quarrel, he didn't say he would try her throat with the curved catch of umbrella. I deliver his disguise like a good girl, and he is gone. Men want me to be good and bend for them. I cannot know how deeply it guts till I am alone again. I get my cheekbones from my father's sleight of hand, my keep away from his dance around the heart compound. Father, how I wish I were nothing like you. And finally, this is umbilical. My mother tells the story every time she gets a chance, which is to say, every time she sees her face on me, which is to say, every time she sees my face. She says she instructed me to pick breadfruit for the soup, and I said I couldn't climb. Her only child with a red color code, she says she denied me then, but not in those words. Told me I was not her child if I couldn't travel through trees. She says the next time she saw me, I was a bird in the bud, wanting to be hers again, but not in those words. She says she climbed with all her children in her belly, negotiating limbs and limbs, finding footing and food for the fire, and the rest of us waiting on the earth. No doubt she frightened her mother, her father, the way I jolt any man who cranes to catch mangoes from me. She prepared me for this, but doesn't say that is what she wants me to know. My mother tells people the story always in front of my face, which is to say her face, which is to say my face, and sometimes I am the only people she tells. But she must know I was there. She must know I remember that she never has to make me a stranger or threaten to sever ties to prove with every climb I become her child. Thank you.
Okay. So confession, I was trying to keep my mic open to ensure that I wouldn't come back and be talking while I'm muted. But I had to turn it off during Yashika's reading because, yeah, I wanted to be able to express myself without calling down shame on my mother. And wow, Yashika, that was more on that later because let me compose myself. Yes, great reading. Thank you very much. I think she's turned off her camera, so we can't see her, but good on you. And now, I'm going to say drum rolls, please. We have closing out our readings, Miss A-dZiko Simba Gegele. A-dZiko is a prize-winning writer. Her writing reflects her Pan-Africanism and has spanned multiple genres, including poetry, fiction, playwriting. She is an adept storyteller and workshop facilitator. She is a narrator of All Over Again, which was also her debut novel. And All Over Again won the inaugural Burt Award for Caribbean Literature and was longlisted for the International Dublin Prize for Literature. I would tell you what kind of reader A-dZiko is, but I wouldn't do her justice. So instead, just listen. A-dZiko.
Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Tanya. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Blue Banyan Books, and everybody who's here. I'm feeling so filled with wonderfulness. So it's really great. I think this is a very special occasion. So I'm reading from All Over Again, chapter 11, Understanding What Happened. You don't understand your father. You can do it. You know you can. You just know it. You can. You have watched him do it 1,000,000 times. Every time you go out with him, you watch him. And whenever you get a chance to sit close to Mr. Batcher or Mikey or Chalky or Mr. Clinton, any one of them, man, you watch them too. That is how you know you can do it. Automatic or shift stick, you can do it. You can drive. That is why you can't understand your father. Why every Friday when he turns the pickup into the yard and leaves it at the gate next to the standpipe for you to wash and sweep out, why he always tells you the same thing. No. Why? Boy, just relax yourself and wash the truck and remember the wheels. Why? You know, gas pedal from the brakes, from the clutch, you know, first gear, second gear, and all of that. Indicator, four-way switch, parking light, headlight, rear view, AC, all of that. Just a little drive. That's all. Just a little drive from the standpipe, come up to the house. That's all. That's all. You can't hear. Yes, you can hear, but you are hearing what you don't want to hear. Sure. You cannot understand. In 9 days, you will officially not be a child. In 9 days, you will officially be a teen. That's big. That's huge. Teens go to parties by themselves. They go to parties and come home late and get in trouble, and then go to other parties and come home late and get in trouble. Teens buy their own clothes and dress like teens to make their parents say things like, where you think you're going in that? Teens have their own teen music, and they play it so loud, everyone has to shout when they want to say something. Even their parents have to shout when they want to say, turn that damn noise down. And teens do mad things with skateboards in shopping malls and put it on YouTube. And teenagers drive. You see them driving in TV shows and movies. Once you watch this movie called One Road, Two Teens. It was about these two teenagers that went driving on this road. Cool. Their fathers were not like your father, who doesn't seem to understand that being 13 is the start of everything. You have a business, you don't have a beard, but you have hair on your chest. Okay, it's just 2 hairs, but it's on your chest. Well, you think, maybe you need to help him understand. You don't want to get to 13 and still have your father treating you like you are a child like Mary Janga. No, your father needs to understand you are a teenager. Almost. You will just have to show him. That's what you think. You sweep out the pickup. You sweep it out, soap it up, and wash it down. Then you sit behind the steering wheel and imagine driving up and down Valley Road with the windows down and the radio blasting. Cool. You think about what it would be like if you were a teenager in a movie about driving. You think about driving all the way to school, down the winding road to Seven Valleys, radio blasting, Splo and Fletcher in the cab, a ton load of boys in the back calling out to people as you speed past them at 100, 150. Cool. Water is running swish, swish out of the bathroom pipe by the dasheen. Your father is up at the house bathing. You are down by the gate, sitting in the truck, in the driver's seat, with the key in the ignition. Cool. 13, almost 13. Of course, that is old enough. You would just have to show him. You turn the key. Rum goes the engine. Cool. You press the gas. Rum, 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 it says. Cool. Because you can drive, you slide down in the seat and stretch out your foot until you can sink the clutch. You push the stick into first gear because you can drive. You ease your foot off the clutch and press the gas with the other foot, easy, easy, until you hear that sound, that changing over sound, because you can drive. And because you can drive, you know that sound means the pickup is ready to move. You have to use both hands to let down the handbrake. All at once, the pickup jumps forward. The pickup jumps forward and the steering wheel starts to turn all by itself. And because you are not tall enough to press the clutch and sit up properly on the seat at the same time, you cannot see over the hood. It doesn't matter, you realize how much you know how to drive. If you cannot see over the hood, you realize that when you cannot see over the hood, the pickup will go where it feels to go, not where you want it to go. And making the pickup go where you want it to go is what driving is all about, isn't it? Yes, it is. You slam down your foot on the brakes and the pickup balls out, vroom! This is because you have pressed the gas, not the brakes. If you know how to drive, how come you don't know the brakes from the gas? You have slammed down hard on the gas and now the pickup is bucking like a mad donkey, climbing over the rocks your mother and Mary Janga painted white and circled around the little flowers garden above the gate. You cannot see over the hood, but you can see branches and leaves and bits of sky and clouds rushing past the side window. You grab for the steering wheel, your hand slips and the wipers say shh, brr, shh, shh, brr, shh, as they tremble across the dry windscreen. You grab again and miss again. Brap, brap, says the horn. One more grab at the wheel and you jump onto the seat, and you are just in time to see Mary Janga and your father with a towel around his waist and a look of horror on his face, and his two hands stretched out and shaking as if he is trying to make the tamarind tree standing between you and the house move out of the way, out of the way.
I suspect you've been left on a cliffhanger, people. Thank you, A-dZiko. I have one word for you, and that's cool. Yes, at this point, it is time for us to now have a nice grand circle, where we can all talk about the stories. So for all our authors and narrators, if you don't currently have your camera on, turn it on, because this is where we do our group chat, all right? Okay, everybody's on. I can't see anybody, so you all have to tell me you're ready. All right, I'm going to assume everybody is ready. And so one of the people who is on that you haven't heard anything about other than her name is Nadine Rollins. She is one of those people with a ton of slashes behind her name. She is a badass actress. She is a director. She is a producer. And she's just a damn fabulous woman. What can I say? You see, all right. Show them the things. And so, Nadine, I want to start the Q&A off with you, because if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time you're producing and directing audiobooks, right?
Yes, it's the first time.
Yes.
First time.
Tell us a little about it. Was it different from your other producing and directing roles? Was it a terrible experience? Please don't say that.
It was horrible. Thank you so much, Blue Banyan Books, Blouse and Skirt. Big up on yourself. Tanya, if you'd allow me, I just want to start by just blessing this space. I feel so blessed to be among such talented individuals, and I think it's a blessing that we're all together. So, just blessing this space. Thank you. I remember last year when you had asked me to be a part of the Reading is Fundamental campaign that you had last year in the heights of COVID. I don't know if you remember. And I read Lynn Joseph's book, Dancing in the Rain. And reading is not really my thing, to be honest. And I did confess to that when I did the thing with you. And I promised myself that in 2022, I would read a book a month. And then you called me, was it in February? I think you called me and said, this is happening, yes, and you're going to do a call out for it and thing. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. I've never directed a book, audiobooks before, produced it. And I said, why not? I'm in a phase in my life now when I'm just like taking chances and risks and just doing everything once it falls under what I love, which is producing and directing. And here I am. I've read 5 books in 3 months, you know. And as a matter of fact, I think I've read these books more than these writers. I mean, I've read them over and over, and when we're in studio, you know, I heard them again, and when I was listening back, I heard them again. And, you know, I just want to say, you know, that we really have some excellent writers in the Caribbean. Big up on yourself. I pay homage to writers. Writers are beautiful people, just creating stories from imagination, and I love it. So thank you so much for this opportunity. It really was wonderful being in studio with these talented writers, actors, journalists, producers, you know, everybody. It really, really was a phenomenal experience. I had a great team working with me, the Creative Sound team. They were very supportive, you know, in coordinating the scheduling. I had a great admin staff as well working on the project. I want to do more audiobooks because it is like directing a play or a film, to be honest with you, because for me as a director, I like to listen first. Even when I read, I listen back in my head, and then I create the picture. So the audiobook experience was the same thing. It was important for me when I heard the reader, I saw it happening. And so that's what happened when we created these books. You know, even the poems themselves, they were just as magical and to do as well in that regard. So it's not different, to answer your question. I mean, yes, we were in a studio, it's more contained and perhaps less money. So maybe I'll do more audiobooks than films because it's less money, but equally impacting.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And so I'm going to, let's mix it up. So we have 3 of the books are narrated by their authors / poets. 3? My math are always bad. So yeah, I don't know. Some of them. So A-dZiko, Janet, particularly Blacker, either of you can start. Let me know, what was the experience like going from having spent all this time with the words in print to taking it to audio? How was that experience for you? You know, actually, since this is virtual, it's probably easier for me to just say who. A-dZiko, you want to start off with that?
Oh, it was a great experience. It was hard work, really was hard work, just to keep up the energy and to remember the different voices for the characters and to try and keep that consistency. But it was wonderful working with Nadine. She has a really special magic about her. She made me feel cared for, like, how are you feeling? What's your energy like? But also she has a very keen attention to detail. So sometimes I'd be reading something and I'd miss a word, or a word wouldn't really come across with the right emotion. And I'd think in my mind, I can slip this by Nadine. And Nadine would say, okay, A-dZiko, we need to go back here, this word here. Like, damn, she got it. But it was, it made me feel very confident in Nadine's abilities. And when she said, okay, this isn't sounding right, I had no problem with going back and doing it. And she could also say, okay, it needs to be a bit more this or a little less that. So I think, even though I say I found it very hard work, it was wonderful working with Nadine, and she made it so much easier than it could have been.
Awesome. Blacker, how about for you? I'm really hoping nobody's hearing that bike that just rode into my yard, because of course these things always choose a moment like this. So apologies for the yang if you are hearing it. Yes, Blacker, how was the experience for you?
It was a bit scary for me. I have to confess, I hate hearing my own voice. And I have held this belief for a long time that every writer isn't necessarily a good reader. I have actually read books where when I hear the writer read it, I get upset because it spoiled what I felt when I read the book myself. So happily I don't know all the writers. So from the get-go, you remember the channel that I kept saying my book launch, I don't want to read all the poems because they are written for different voices, and I can't, even though I'm an actor, I don't want to have to embody all those voices. It was for me a bit scary, but then you proffered Paula and Porter and her awesomeness, and I was like, yes, yes, because perhaps for me the greatest thrill as a writer, I love words. The good book say in the beginning was the word, and I grew up with a love for words, for the written words. And for me, the biggest thrill as a writer of words is to hear my words being given voice, being given body by some people who are just brilliant and awesome. And I'm over the moon. I'm still wanting, I would buy my own audiobook just to hear Paula Ann's voice. I promise you, I'll buy a couple of copies just to hear Paula Ann. What awesome.
That is thrilling. Yes. So Janet, how was it for you?
Before I say how it feels, I have to agree with Blacker. You know, I just love Paula Ann's voice, so I understand exactly how it feels. For me, it was I've been there before, but working with Nadine is you've never been there before. And it's funny because we had worked on a project just before the audiobook was recorded, where I was the producer, director, and she was a talent. So having switched roles now, it was a totally different dynamic, you know, and it was really good. We kind of rode it out together, you know, when you're on the same rhythm. And I guess working together already, we had that kind of vibe. It was, I have read an audiobook before, many moons ago. I think it was Lady Bustamante's biography that was put out by Mike Henry, I think it was. And that was such a different experience to this one because A, I was the author of the piece, and B, Nadine was in the thing. And what I loved about her was that she didn't interject. It's almost as if she knew when I would pick up on something I'd done wrong. So it wasn't her interjecting constantly. She kind of held back, and then she'd say, why we don't do that again, you know? So allowed you the space to be better each time without, the constant, no, you said that wrong, or no, you said that, So it was a good experience. And, Nadine and I seem to have a little vibe going. So yeah, it was all good.
All right. So especially since she's been mentioned a couple of times, I want to get Paula in on this to talk about the experience for her, as well as Desmond, since you are narrating work that isn't your own. But before Paula and Desmond speaks, I'm going to ask both of you to please take a light on the praise for Nadine, because after all of this praise, if I need to do more audiobooks, she might have raise up the money on me. So yes, let's just check the box. Nadine is awesome, but not make her head get too big and then we can't afford her to do no more audiobook. All right, Paula, what was the experience like for you, for the joke aside?
I cannot tell a lie. Nadine is awesome. I have to say it because reading somebody else's poetry is intimidating. I loved Blacker's poetry from the book come out, and I get my little autograph copy. He is amazing with words. But then, suppose the way I read it is not what he did like, or what he meant, or my interpretation is off. And it was a very intimidating space. And Nadine did, like Janet said, she helped to put it in the context of something that was achievable. She never bad way up too much, a little suggestion here and there, but certainly in a way that allowed me to feel comfortable with exploring a little more with it. And the process was a pleasure. So thank you for the opportunity to share Black Teens. I am so happy. That's on our way. Never mind.
And you, Desmond, what was the experience like for you?
I mean, I can't help but echo what everybody has said. Nadine is awesome. I think one of the major things for me was just, when we first, went in the first day, and I read, the first 3 or 4 lines, and she said, you know what, let's stop for a minute. I want the voice that you use when you're talking about things that you like, because I went in thinking, it should be very proper, it should be very, and she said, no, that's not the voice I want your voice. And I was just like, this is my voice. And she said, no, I'm gonna say yes. And she said, no, I want the other voice. And it was just interesting for me how she was able to coach me into the voice I use when I'm describing theater. And so I was able to discover that I use 2 voices. So the voice I use when I'm myself is vastly different from the voice, I guess my passion voice, and that's what she wanted for the book. And so it was just an interesting discovery for me that she got so familiar with the other voice that when I used my real voice, she was just like, no, that's just not it. And that experience on the first day was something that was pivotal for me, just, recognizing self and what other people are exposed to. And I can't say that I've had an experience that's forced me to look at that in the way that Nadine helped me to, just be very conscious of that as I work. Outside of that, it's just what everybody else said, attention to detail. You mess up a letter, and she'll go, that's not what's there. Can we try it again? But it's just all very warm. It's all very supportive. You get your water, you get your little breaks. So it's all very, it was something I've always wanted to do. So when she approached me about it, I welcomed the challenge. I didn't expect it to be quite as challenging, given there are like 11 characters in it. But Nadine's attention to detail ensured that all of them maintained themselves throughout the piece, and it was just great, great fun. Thank you to Nadine, of course, and to the entire team.
Tanya,
Awesome.
you have to raise my peer.
Well, that brings me to a great segue to say that when the books come out, they need to buy the books so I can afford you next time, right? Great books, great readers, great director. Totally worth the money when it comes out over the summer. Awesome. And Yashika, just in case you think you are getting away. So your book, your upcoming debut, Some of Us Can Go Back Home. This, like I just called it, is your debut. So, but you have been reading your poetry. Those of us who know you have seen you on multiple stages, not least of which is the amphitheater at Edna Manley for Poetry Society. So how do you feel about, so tell us, how do you feel about having your words, getting ready to come into the world, both in print and in audio? For you as a writer, what is that like?
Oh, wow. I will tell you, Tanya, the very first time I went on a stage, not long after that, I was ready for my book to come out. I think I outlined maybe 3 or 4 books. I was like, okay, next year my book's gonna come out. And thank God I didn't do that. But this is very exciting, and I am terrified as well all of a sudden. And this would have happened in conversation with my editor, Tanya Shirley, too, where she's like, this is a time where you're going to be scrutinizing your work to the highest level. You're going to think, so many things are wrong with it. So the process of getting this out, it's so much revision and rethinking and processing and letting go. So there's a lot of, it's almost like, I want to say that I'm giving birth to the project in a way. So it is releasing it, it is making it, you know, and then giving it to the world. And so that feels like a very big deal, which I'm just to say I'm excited and terrified about, but you know, yeah.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. I'm sure I am not the only one who is very much looking forward to Some of Us Can Go Back Home for sure. Yes. And so right about now, what I really want to do is I want to open up the conversation to the rest of us there out there in the what, it's not the metaverse, we're not there yet. But in the YouTube verse, I don't know if that's what they call it, but that's what I'm going to call it today. So to people out in the YouTube verse, and I'm going to be asking Romario to help us with that. So if you do have questions, please start dropping them now if you haven't done that yet. And Romario, if there are not yet any questions, you can feel free to open your mic and start sharing any interesting questions or comments that you're seeing so far. And of course, tell us who's saying it, so you know we know who's talking.
Hi, everybody. I'm Romario. So I'm seeing so far one question in the chat, and it's asking, is it a Jamaica 60th anniversary edition? And to that question, no, not necessarily.
Right. No, it's not. Let's look at it this way. Here at Blue Banyan, everything we do is about Caribbean culture, which means, and we use that UNESCO definition of culture, which is how you live. And yeah, so it's not Jamaica 60, but it definitely is in many ways. And it's not merely a celebration of Jamaica either, because you will hear that some of the works are celebratory, but some of the works, they hit hard. So these works, you know, they do give you an opportunity to look at the best of ourselves and sometimes the worst of ourselves. And you know, you can get your hands on the physical copies right now, and they will make great Jamaica 60 gifts, you know, and you can also get your hands on the audiobooks. You can use it to celebrate Jamaica 60 if you wish. It's not our intention, but we love that you're asking, because it means that you are, I'm assuming it means that you are liking what you are hearing. Yes. And any other questions in the chat, Romario?
All right, so I'm seeing another question, and it says, is it one item with all the recordings, or are there separate items? And what is the price going to be like? Okay,
so as with all books, audiobooks are all priced differently. We are, depending on the platform, one of the things that, I don't know if I'm saying things that you're not supposed to say out loud, because a lot of things about publishing are often hush-hush. I don't know why. But on platforms like Audible, where the books will be, it's one of the platforms we will be on, we don't get to set the price. They set the price for the book. I don't know why. Let's not get into my issues with Amazon, or, you know, I will end up cussing off that whole thing, and they will hear, because they are listening to everything, and then the books will be able to be up on Audible. So let's not go there. We will just focus. The prices will vary. It is anticipated that they will range, and from approximately about $15 US to 20 something, in the low 20s, about 22, because it depends on it depends somewhat on the length of the work, the different prices. So that's it with regard to price. With regard to whether or not it's one work, no. There are 5 books to go over because it means I have not been doing enough of a good job on saying what the books are. So the 5 titles and authors, please, if I get anything wrong, please to correct me. Y'all know the brain, has issues. So we have A-dZiko, Simba, Gegele's All Over Again, Janet Morrison's A Different Me, A Better You, Owen the Blacker Ellis's Rhythm and Riddles, which is narrated by himself, as well as Paula Ann Porter-Jones and Joanne Williams. Then we have Some of Us Can Go Back Home by Yashika Graham, and Lost in the Cockpit Country, written by Billy Elm, but narrated by Desmond Dennis. So that's 5 different works. So you have all of 5 audiobooks to buy. And if you, for some reason, don't yet have the physical copies, it's okay to own 2 versions of the same book. So go on out and buy that. All right. Any other questions?
All right, so before I move on to the next questions, or next set of questions, I saw a very interesting comment from Kiki, and it says, it is so important to have Caribbean books narrated because there's a whole heap of nonsense going on elsewhere when other publishers have the books. So thrilled to be at such an important launch. And we're so thrilled to have you too, Kiki.
Awesome. So any direct questions for the authors, etc.? And what's up?
I have just one more question, and the person was asking if you would be doing any of your catalog for younger children. I'm guessing of the books already in the catalog, so like turning them into audiobooks. Okay,
so of note, 2 of these books that we shared this evening, A Different Me, A Better You, and Lost in the Cockpit Country, are for younger readers. Therefore, their ideal audience is for 8 to 12 years old. So they're for younger readers like that. But we fully believe that well-written children's book can be read by children and adults. We think a lot of our books are for a wider range than the ideal age range. So those books are in there for that. We very much want to do other books to go digital, to go audio, etc. For the books for readers younger than 8, at present, no. It is a part of our long-term plan, however. But for those, we want to do read-along books. So yeah, for that is how we intend to do the books for 8 and younger. So books like Paula Ann's Awesome, Sandy Tosh and the Muko, when that one gets into the digital space, it will be via an animated read-along kind of work. So when we hint, get the money for that, we will be able to launch that type of work, yes.
There's one more question for A-dZiko. I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. I'm so sorry. Any plans
that
for?
Was very good.
Come again?
Many have tried and many have failed, but that was very good, Romario.
Thank you. So somebody said, any plans for film in the future? Because it's a very interesting story.
Ah, yes. Well, funnily enough, I do have a short script for, it's not for that chapter, it's one of the earlier chapters. And it got very close to getting funding, but then it didn't. So if anybody has some deep pockets and they're listening on YouTube, contact my publisher. Yeah, so I mean, it's something that I've definitely thought about. I already, as I say, have a screenplay for a short, but I would love to think about doing the whole book. That would be awesome.
Right. If I'm misremembering correctly, A-dZiko, there was a time we actually put together a pitch to do. But yeah, we didn't develop a script or anything, but we did go so far as to start doing pitching documents for this. So yes, let's put it out into the ether. And see, because I fully agree with the commenter whose name I'm not remembering, but yes, I do believe All Over Again would make a great film as well. But until it gets there, this summer you can get the audiobook. Hint, hint. Yes. Romario, back to you. Any other questions, comments?
All right, so one more question. When will these amazing books be available? So the audiobooks.
All right. So the intention is that we will be rolling these out over the summer. We're actually going to start with A-dZiko's All Over Again, which is slated to be released on, I had this down. I'm pretty sure it's the 7th of July, but it's either the 7th or the 8th of July. And so that will be the first one. And then we will be dropping a new book about every 2 weeks, culminating around the end of August with Some of Us Can Go Back Home. What I urge you to do is make sure that if you are not yet subscribed to this channel, you subscribe to this channel, and or you follow us on social media, or you can just head on over to our website and sign up for our newsletter. We promise we will not be sending you a ton of things every day. We do a newsletter every 2 weeks, so you're not going to be bombarded by information, but it's a great way for you to stay up to date with what we are doing, how we're doing it, which new interviews, etc. we have released, and all of that. And between now and the release date, we are working on a ton of, pieces of content that we will share with you as we continue to get ready for the big release. So this is just the start, not the end.
Okay, I think that is it for the questions.
All right.
I see one that is aimed at Blacker. Which one he loved? Yes, and which one did you love, Blacker? So
Which one of mine did I love? I love A-dZiko's All Over Again. A-dZiko's writing and the reading of her writing is like I'm watching a movie. The drama is just beautiful. I love that. I just love I love what Tanya has been doing and is doing with Blue Banyan and Blouse and Skirt. I apart my indulgence with my affiliate of alliteration, but the growing greatness and the evolving efficiency, putting together a great team. And I mean, we're picking up Nadine, and Nadine is awesome. But Tanya, you're going to, you're going away, and your work as an editor has been awesome. I submitted about 60 poems for my book, and Tanya ripped through them, I ended up with 36.
Why? Okay, so with good intention, thank you, Blacker, you get your cut in. A-dZiko has accused me publicly of slapping her with a dead fish.
Yes.
Paula Ann has on Twitter called me a slave driver, and so now I am a ripper of poems. All right. The names continue. I accept them all. I appreciate it. And thank you all for
The savage.
trusting me with you. Thank you all for trusting me with your work. So Romario, a last look for any other questions, because I do think it is right about time for us to start to wrap. So let me know, are there any other questions?
So one more question. If we're planning on doing any audiobooks for old Caribbean books.
That is a tricky one. Please don't try to get me excited. At present, it would have to be a book that we have the rights for. So right now, we're definitely working through the Blue Banyan / Blouse and Skirt books catalog. But that question sounds exciting, and my lawyer friend, I'm pretty sure, is on. Maybe we can start thinking about getting audio rights for some of the older books. We can see what that is. It sounds like something that might be interesting in the future development phase of things. That definitely sounds like it's worth a thought or two. Yes. All right. Was that the last question?
Yes, that's it.
Awesome.
Get the rights to Earl Lovelace book. Get the rights to Earl Lovelace novel and make do that.
My only word is da-da-dee. So before I close off, it is time.
Hey, one last thing. Just
mhm.
I hear to our Mama Z. I really enjoy her reading. Really
I
do.
like it, Mama Z. Yes, A-dZiko, you that. Right. So any of the other authors, narrators have final words? Actually, I really should have given you an opportunity for any closing words, thoughts, etc. Let me take that as my cue. Want me to call you by name? A-dZiko, any final words?
Thank you, Tanya, again. And it was wonderful to hear the words coming off the page and the whole, the kaleidoscope of different stories and the different things that we're passionate about. It was, it's been a really awesome evening. So I'm looking forward to the success of Blue Banyan Books' new venture.
All right. So we're turning the wheel backwards, going in the opposite order. So Yashika, any last words from you?
Just to say big thanks. Thanks to you, Tanya. Thanks to the entire team. And thanks to all of the people who support Caribbean writing and support art. You know, really grateful. Yeah, thank you.
And Paula, I'm going with you first. Yes. Any final words?
Thank you for doing what you're doing. You're opening the doors for a lot of different things, new experiences for some of us. Thank you.
Blacko, just to advise, you know, you can expand if there was a point you wanted to make earlier, because we know Blacko, you know, we know you have many of the things to say. Go ahead. This is your not final. There'll be other opportunities.
Well, although I'm one of those who carry plenty slash and hyphen. Honestly, if I could do nothing but write, I would be all right. So I'm happy that writing and the writers are getting and so grow and spread. And I love all 5 books that have been now turned into audiobooks. I mean, Janet's book, Different You, Better Me, Different You, I think it is wonderful in its honoring of people who are very often authored. And I really just appreciate that. And, you know, I feel good. I'm feeling very nice this evening, but nice.
Awesomeness. And that's a great segue over to Desmond. Any final words from you?
Yes, actually, I just wanted to congratulate all the writers. I wanted to congratulate you, to Nadine, and the entire team for this project. It's huge, and I don't want that, you know, anybody here takes it for granted how huge this is. And I'm very honored to be a part of it. I had such great fun. And I'm looking forward, like I'm praying, you know, success for all all of you collectively, your endeavors. And I'm really looking forward to what's coming next from all of you. Congrats.
Thank you. And closing it out, Ms. Janet.
Not much to say, Tanya, except thank you so much. I would like to thank all who tuned in to the live, and just to say, keep reading. Reading, if you poll all of the persons who were here this evening, you would probably find that they were all early readers, consistent readers, I am always trumpeting reading, from an early age. So go out and buy the books, the hard copies, and of course the audiobooks, and keep reading.
Thank you all. And yes, one of the things I like to say is that reading is fundamental. So that's a really great note on which to end, Janet. And so before I go, I want to make sure I say very special thanks to the Caribbean Development Bank, Caribbean Export, and the European Union, who funded this project through the Technical Assistance Program. I thank you so much for selecting the project. It is a vote of confidence in what we are able to do and can do and should be doing in the creative sector. And without that grant, this road would have been a lot harder. So thank you very much. And of course, I can't thank the grant funders without thanking my book paddy, Kelly Magnus, who refused to listen to my foolishness and my lamentations and me can't bother and help me finish this grant. Without you, it would not have happened. And I am not afraid to say that publicly. So thank you. I have to, of course, thank our producer, director, Nadine Rollins. As everyone has said, it was great working with you. Thank you so much for doing this. I want to thank our authors and narrators. Thank you so much for trusting me with your work, for trusting us with your work in print and now in audio. And thank you for being good and easy to work with. That he never complained about any of you, not once. You're great people. So to A-dZiko, Simba, Gegele, to Janet Morrison, Owen Blacker Ellis, Joanne Williams, Paula Ann Porter Jones, Yashika Graham, and Desmond Dennis, thank you. Thanks to the good people at Creative Sounds who have been amazingly reasonable and accommodating. I have to big up two friends, Annalisa and Danielle, who helped me out with the light because my apartment are very dark and you would have just seen a nice silhouette instead of my face, which I think is worthy of being seen. I don't know about you, but I think so. I have to absolutely thank Tanya Shirley, who has been amazing in editing. Some of us can go back home. Thank you. To get to say that you are an editor on one of the works I'm putting out is an absolute thrill. And it comes very close to what Jareen of Rebel Women Lit has been touting for, which is a book with the three Tanyas. It's not quite the three Tanyas, but at least I am getting to work with Tanya Shirley, so hooray on that. I have to thank my family who remain unwavering in their support and continue to support me and this ridiculous dream of publishing from the region. And thanks to the Blue Banyan team. And yes, I finally absolutely have a team. It is virtual, but I'm going to give them a hand. I remember a few years ago, somebody sent me correspondence and said, something, your team. And I'm like, team, it's me one at a computer. What team? And so it is absolutely wonderful to be able to say right now that we are expanding. You have met today so far. You have met Romario Ricketts, who is our editorial intern, and he's been doing a fantastic job. If you follow us on Instagram and you have been noticing an uptick in the reels, Romario is the one who's doing it because, yeah, I'm still pretty Insta clueless. I also definitely have to thank the newest member of our team. I hope her camera is on. Jean Hawthorne DaCosta, who is herself a writer and is now our managing editor at Blue Banyan. I am so glad you made the mistake of saying yes, you will join our team, and I look forward to the journey with you. I also have to thank our Director of All Things Digital, Marissa Leng, who has been working with us for years. I just need to figure out how to one day pay her. As soon as I figure that out, I will write a check, not made of rubber. And of course, thank you all for joining us this evening, because I believe, as many of you do, that whether or not the revolution is televised, there should be a book about it, electronic or otherwise. It is high time we did this. Far too many of our stories remain half-forgotten things, and far too often, even when our stories are told, our communities do not benefit from it. For me, each time we pick up a pen, publish a book, one less grandmother gets forgotten. Another piece of untold story is chronicled. And the only way we can write our history is when we begin to write our history, our stories, our truths, as we know and feel and imagine them. And in this case, as we can tell them. Thank you all very much for joining us. Please make sure you subscribe if you have not yet done so. Please follow us on social and have a blouse and skirt great evening. Thank you.
Can you hear it? They're coming. 5 great books from Blue Banyan Books and Blouse and Skirt Books. Feel the Caribbean, read the Caribbean. Coming soon to your favorite source for audiobooks. Can you hear it? They're coming. 5 great books from Blue Banyan Books and Blouse and Skirt Books. Feel the Caribbean, read the Caribbean. Coming soon to your favorite source for audiobooks. Can you hear it? They're coming. 5 great books from Blue Banyan Books and Blouse and Skirt Books. Feel the Caribbean, read the Caribbean. Coming soon to your favorite source for audiobooks. Can you hear it? They're coming. 5 great books from Blue Banyan